You're watching MH Nation. Get the latest NBA news, transfer rumors, and match updates fast. Like, share, and subscribe to stay ahead of the game.
LeBron just forced the Lakers' hand. Bronny, Randall, and a Kuminga trade are all happening at once. Lakers Nation, in the last 24 hours, the front office has been working the phone so hard that 5 different trade stories dropped at the same time, and every single one of them changes who's wearing purple and gold this season. LeBron just left. Bronny might follow him. Julius Randle wants to come home. And Rob Pelinka is out here trying to land a starting forward without blowing up the roster he just built. Stick with me, because by the end of this video, you're going to know exactly where the Lakers stand on all of it. Let's get into it. Father-son reunion. Lakers reportedly willing to send Bronny James to Philly. Okay, this is the one nobody expected to be talking about this soon. Bronny James, LeBron's son, could be traded to the same team LeBron just signed with. Let that sink in for a second. Here's the situation. Bronny's deal for the 2026-27 season is fully guaranteed. He's set to earn right around $2.3 million, and on paper, keeping him in Los Angeles for a third season was always on the table. But the Lakers' actual off-season behavior tells a different story. This front office is chasing pieces that can contribute right now, not a young guard still finding his role. And with a new trade framework circulating, we now have a real shape of how a Bronny exit could go down. Here's the structure being floated. The Atlanta Hawks would receive Jared Vanderbilt and a 2032 first-round pick. In return, the Lakers would land Jalen Smith and Jonathan Kuminga. The Philadelphia 76ers would take on Bronny James, and the Chicago Bulls would receive Jake LaRavia, Dalton Knecht, plus a stack of second-round picks running from 2027 all the way to 2032. Why Philadelphia? Because LeBron is already there. He signed with the Sixers last week, ending weeks of speculation and landing the league's all-time leading scorer in the Eastern Conference. And once that happened, everybody started asking the obvious question, does Bronny follow him? Now, LeBron's camp has been clear that the two of them are not a package deal. Nobody in that camp has said Bronny has to go wherever LeBron goes. But let's be real, Lakers Nation. When a father moves across the country to a new franchise, the door for his son to join him doesn't exactly stay closed. And on the roster mechanics side, this move makes a lot of sense for both teams. Bronny's contract is small enough that it doesn't disrupt Philadelphia's cap situation at all. And the Lakers are currently sitting over the standard 15-man roster limit after an aggressive offseason. Moving Bronny, along with Vanderbilt, LaRavia, and Knecht, clears real space for the additions they actually want. And here's the part that should get you excited. This framework is also how the Lakers could land Jonathan Kuminga without a straight sign-and-trade headache. Kuminga has been the Lakers' top wing target for weeks, but the salary gap between what he wants and what the Lakers can offer directly has been the sticking point. Funnel him through a 3-team framework like this one, and suddenly the money works. Kuminga slides in as a starting forward. Jalen Smith gives the front court more shooting depth, and the roster stays under the max. Bronny saw more minutes and more run this past season, don't get me wrong. But with this level of veteran talent coming in, there's no guarantee he keeps a real role in Los Angeles anyway. Sometimes the best thing for a young player's career is a fresh start with a clean role, and reuniting with his father in Philadelphia checks every box. Julius Randle coming home? Lakers trade idea builds a new big three with Doncic and Reeves. 9 years after the Lakers shipped him out in the Anthony Davis trade, Julius Randle might be coming back, and this time, he'd be walking into a locker room with Luka Doncic and Austin Reeves already waiting for him. Let's set the scene. Julius Randle is currently a Brooklyn Net, and if you know anything about where that franchise is right now, you know it's not exactly a contender. Brooklyn is deep in rebuild mode, and a 3-time All-Star like Randle simply does not belong on a rebuilding roster. He belongs on a team that needs a legitimate second or third scoring option. Sound like anybody you know? The hypothetical framework being discussed brings in the New Orleans Pelicans as a third team. Here's how it lays out. The Lakers would acquire Julius Randle. The Nets would acquire Zion Williamson, pairing him with Michael Porter Jr. and their young core. And the Pelicans would receive a big package for facilitating the deal. Jared Vanderbilt, Jaden Hardy, Jake LaRavia, Dalton Connect, a 2027 first-round pick coming from Houston, a 2028 top 8 protected first-rounder coming from New York, plus second-round picks in 2031 and 2032. Why would the Lakers actually do this? Because right now, LA has an established 1-2 punch in Doncic and Reeves, but they're still missing a true front-court playmaker who can create his own shot. Walker Kessler was a great pickup defensively, but let's be honest, his offensive game is limited. Randle solves that instantly. He's an underrated passer. He averaged 4.9 assists a game across his 2 seasons in Minnesota, and he's one of the most physical downhill players in the entire league. As a short-roll playmaker next to Doncic and Reeves, Randle could genuinely thrive. And this is the kicker for Lakers fans who remember the Anthony Davis trade. Randle was the number 7 overall pick by the Lakers back in the day, before being moved as the centerpiece return for AD. 9 years later, this would be a full-circle moment, a homecoming story. And financially, it's a low-risk move too. Randle only has 1 year left on his deal, a $35 million player option for 2027 to 28, so the Lakers aren't gambling on a long-term commitment here. On the other side, why do the Pelicans do it? Simple. Zion Williamson has become somewhat redundant in New Orleans. Trey Murphy III has emerged as their best wing. DeJounte Murray and Jeremiah Fears are their guys running point going forward, and Zion's massive, risky contract, he's owed $44.8 million in 2027 to 28, is exactly the kind of money a team wants off the books when it's not the centerpiece anymore. And why do the Nets do it? Because whatever you think of Zion's health record, he is still box office. Brooklyn is one of the most valuable franchises in the league, and they need star power fans will actually tune in for. Pairing Zion with MPJ and a young core under head coach Jordi Fernandez gives Brooklyn an identity, and because of the unique structure of Zion's deal, they're not even locked into guaranteeing him past this year. Low risk, high reward for everybody but Randle's old team, which would suddenly be the Lakers' problem to solve on the court. Are the Lakers chasing the wrong forward? Jovan Buha says PJ Washington is the better move. While everybody's obsessed with Jonathan Kuminga, one of the most plugged-in Lakers reporters in the business is asking a question the front office might not want to hear. What if the better player is sitting in Dallas? The Lakers' plan with Kuminga has been reported for weeks now. Bring him in as a starting forward, with a real path to becoming the team's third scoring option. On paper, it makes sense. He's young, he's athletic, and he's been available. But Jovan Buha recently pushed back on that plan hard, and it's worth hearing exactly what he said. Buha's quote was blunt. "Where I will criticize this is the potential of not going all in for a guy like PJ Washington. I would do that in a heartbeat. And that, to me, would be a more all-in move that I would criticize them for not viewing as the right final piece." Now, contract math is a real factor here. Washington is owed $88.76 million over the next 4 years, including a fully guaranteed final season worth $24.5 million. That's a heavy price tag. But here's the wrinkle with Kuminga. Because he'd be acquired via sign and trade, NBA rules require the Lakers to give him a minimum 3-year deal. So the cheaper option isn't actually guaranteed to be cheaper. And Kuminga himself might not even cooperate with a short-term, team-friendly deal. According to Jake Fisher of the Stein line, Kuminga isn't interested in being boxed into that 3-year sign and trade structure unless the number matches what he believes is his market value. In Fisher's words, Kuminga is optimistic he can land closer to fair value if he's simply patient and waits out free agency. Translation? The Lakers might end up paying Kuminga almost exactly what Washington makes, just for 1 less year of contractual control. And getting a Kuminga sign and trade done at all means convincing Atlanta to play ball, which is no guarantee. The Hawks reportedly remain open to just re-signing him to a 1-year deal themselves if a sign and trade doesn't come together the way they want. So basketball-wise, why does Buha like Washington so much? Track record. Washington already played alongside Luka Doncic during Dallas's run to the 2024 NBA Finals. He thrived in that role, a lob threat, a floor spacer, and a versatile defender next to Doncic and Kyrie Irving. Kuminga has serious untapped upside, nobody's denying that, but his three-point shooting has been a real weakness. He's a career 33.2% shooter from deep, and that's a problem walking into an offense with two ball-dominant guards. Washington, on the other hand, is a career 35.4% three-point shooter who hit 38.1% as recently as the 2024-25 season. The bottom line from this report, logistics will ultimately decide what the Lakers actually do. But by fixating so hard on Kuminga, they may be overlooking the more proven, more battle-tested fit that's sitting right there in Dallas. One trade, 4 teams changed forever. How Walker Kessler leaving Utah reshaped the Lakers' entire center plan. Story 4. Hook starting line. This next story explains something a lot of Lakers fans have been asking about all week. Why did the front office go so hard and give up so much just to land Walker Kessler? The answer involves 3 other teams you wouldn't expect. Story 4. Script. The Walker Kessler trade might not have been the flashiest move of the summer, but it might be the most consequential, because it wasn't just a Jazz-Lakers deal. It set off a chain reaction across the league. According to Dan Wojcicki of The Athletic, if the Kessler trade had fallen apart, the Lakers' backup plan was Mitchell Robinson. Wojcicki put it this way: Los Angeles believed in Kessler, and he was at or near the top of Luka Doncic's personal wish list, but scarcity at the center position drove up the actual cost the Lakers had to pay to get him. Had Kessler not been available, the Lakers, per team and league sources, would likely have gone after free agent center Mitchell Robinson instead. But Robinson ended up leaving the New York Knicks to sign a 3-year, $47.4 million deal with the Boston Celtics. So let's break down what this actually meant for everybody involved. For the Utah Jazz, yes, they're a worse team in the short term for trading away a quality young center like Kessler. But by doing it, they essentially stripped the Lakers of leverage in every other trade conversation this summer, which is a big reason LA has been so hesitant to just pull the trigger on a Kuminga sign and trade. Utah picked up serious draft capital and is betting that assets now turn into a better long-term outcome, even if it costs them a bit defensively this coming season. For the Lakers, they got their guy at center, but at a real cost. They gave up the majority of their remaining draft capital to get Kessler, which limits their options if other trade talks, like Kuminga or Randle, go sideways. Still, per this report, Robinson would have actually been the riskier swing for LA, not because he's a worse player, but because of his well-documented injury history. Kessler, by contrast, has a clean bill of health outside of last season. For the Boston Celtics, this is where it gets interesting for anyone tracking the East. Boston needed front court depth after it contributed to their early playoff exit, and their options were drying up fast, just like the Lakers. When the Jazz moved Kessler instead of letting him hit the open center market, it effectively bailed Boston out. They landed Robinson, and because their front court already has depth, they can manage his fragility carefully through the regular season and lean on him in the playoffs specifically. And for the New York Knicks, they were losing Robinson no matter what, since keeping him would have pushed them into the dreaded second tax apron. Signing Andre Drummond as a replacement wasn't a bad move, but he's not Robinson. And to make it sting more, Robinson now plays for a direct Atlantic Division rival in Boston, instead of a team the Knicks wouldn't see nearly as often. So next time someone asks why the Lakers overpaid for Walker Kessler, now you know. It wasn't just about Utah. It was about making sure LA didn't get stuck as the team left without a center at all. Lakers eyeing a second big man move. Could Jalen Smith join alongside Kuminga? Just when you thought the Lakers' offseason couldn't get any busier, there's a second center target on the board, and this one comes straight out of Chicago. NBA reporter Evan Sidery laid out a potential framework where the Lakers use their remaining trade assets to pry Jalen Smith away from the Chicago Bulls. Here's the shape of it. The Lakers would receive Jalen Smith. The Bulls, in exchange, would get either Jake LaRavia or Jaden Hardy, plus Dalton Connect, plus multiple second-round picks. To be clear, this is a proposed framework, not a confirmed offer from either front office. but it gives you a real sense of what a deal could look like if the Lakers decide to pursue it. Why Smith? According to Dan Wojcicki, Smith has real supporters inside the Lakers organization because of his energy on the floor and his development as an outside shooter. Last season in Chicago, he averaged 10.2 points, 6.7 rebounds, and 1.2 assists across 53 appearances, while shooting 37.3% on 4.2 three-point attempts per game. That's real spacing for a big man, and it gives him the flexibility to play either center or power forward. There are obstacles, though. Smith has 2 years and roughly $18 million left on his deal. His size could be a question mark against bigger centers, and it's genuinely unclear whether Chicago's current front office wants to move him at all. Wojcicki specifically noted that the previous Bulls regime valued him highly, which puts his real availability into question under the new decision-makers. Here's why this still matters for the Lakers even after landing Kessler. Los Angeles has already reshaped its front court this offseason. They acquired Kessler from Utah, then added Kevon Looney and Sandro Mamukelashvili in free agency. Kessler is projected as the starting center. Looney brings rebounding and championship-level experience off the bench, but the Lakers are reportedly still hunting for one more front court piece. Smith would bring something totally different from what they already have, a stretch big who can space the floor and open up driving lanes for Doncic and Reeves, and who'd let the Lakers run actual two big lineups when they want size and shooting at the same time. And according to Sidery, going after Smith wouldn't stop the Lakers from also chasing Kuminga. These could be two completely separate transactions. Smith fills out the front court rotation. Kuminga adds size, athleticism, and scoring on the wing. Different problems, different solutions, same goal, building a real contender around Luka Doncic. So that's 5 separate trade stories, all breaking around the Lakers at the exact same time. Bronny possibly reuniting with LeBron in Philly. A Julius Randle homecoming that would give Doncic and Reeves a legitimate third scorer. The Kuminga versus Washington debate that's splitting Lakers reporters. The Walker-Kessler domino effect that explains why the Lakers paid what they paid. And now, a second center target in Jalen Smith. This front office is not sitting still, and neither should you. Smash that subscribe button so you don't miss the next update, because with Rob Pelinka working the phones like this, the next headline could drop any minute. Drop a comment and tell me which move you want to see happen first, Randle, Kuminga, or Washington. Lakers Daily Hub. I'll see you in the next one.